Welcome to Leadership in Tech, a bi-weekly podcast series on software engineering and product development. I'm your host, Pradeep Yogi, a senior engineering leader with more than a decade of senior leadership experience in public and PE-backed tech companies. The views expressed by me or my guests are not the views of my employer or those of my guests' employers. Take a listen, share, subscribe, and comment. Welcome to Leadership in Tech. Today I have an amazing guest, Avetis Antaplyan. He's the CEO and founder of HireClout, and he's very well known in the LA tech scene. Avetis, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Pradeep. We've known each other for years. I'm honored to be on your awesome podcast.
Yeah. Why don't you give a quick overview of what you do at HireClout and get the people that may not have heard about you get an introduction.
Happy to, Pradeep. Thank you for that. So, HireClout is a global tech and go-to-market recruiting and consulting firm. So, two to three sides of our business. One is our you can call it the recruiting business, where we hire technology and go-to-market folks, typically very senior individual contributors, up to CIO, CTO. Level. And then there's our kind of what you would call our build side of our business, which would be our staff aug/consulting/project business, where we have our own engineers and we deploy them with companies. It could be one, it could be a whole team. Typically, we don't manage the project, but we do offer that as well if needed. Usually it's Pradeep's team. We embed 1 to, let's say, 7 people on this big project. You utilize these folks. When you're done, and they come back to us. So that's it. We're used by some of the best companies in the world. Hulu, OpenTable, Toyota, many different companies. Cornerstone On Demand, a lot of great companies.
That's awesome. So tell me, what inspired you to found and build HireClout to what it is today?
So Pradeep, I don't know if you knew this, but prior to HireClout, my former business partner and I had a business called the Mitchell Group. That was a company that Jeff had founded in 1994, and then him and I kind of rebuilt it together. And so that was the original company. And then we started HireClout about 10 years later. I wanted to build my own thing. I wanted it to be more of a global thing. I wanted it to be more tech-centric, tech-run. The Mitchell Group was more of a regional player, only LA, and it was more what I would consider kind of, I don't want to say legacy tech, but these days I would call it legacy tech, more kind of corporate IT, enterprise IT, versus HireClout started off as just more modern tech, mobile at the time, AI, machine learning, data science, more focused on future tech, and it was not regional. It was minimum national with a global team.
Got it.
So the inspiration was just to build my own business, to scale it, to take more risks, succeed based on how well we do, and fail based on how we do, but always stepping on it and trying new things and innovating and taking risks and all that.
That's fantastic to hear. So you started in education when I looked at your resume. I mean, not your resume, LinkedIn profile. And how did you come to, recruiting and joining the Mitchell Group and co-founding it? And
to very good question. So I was working in I guess you can consider it ed tech, because Kaplan, which is a big, large, I think it's a Fortune 500 company, had acquired a small kind of tech-centric platform company called Score Education. And so I was running their what they called the Southern California division. And I was kind of being groomed to be their vice president of West Coast operations. Then they eliminated the position. And there was all this turmoil and leadership changes, and I was getting frustrated. I was like, it doesn't matter what I do. When you're at a large company, sometimes it doesn't really matter. I mean, they appreciated me. They gave me good love. I was paid well. It wasn't like an issue of feeling unappreciated, but there was so many leadership changes, and unfortunately, the guy that came in to lead, the new guy, I didn't like him, didn't respect him, frankly, and I was bummed because I just didn't enjoy my job anymore. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for something else, because I really didn't have the bandwidth or the money or the knowledge. I was like 26 years old or 27 years old to start my own business. So what ended up happening is I was interviewing through executive search firms for senior director and vice presidents, still in the what you call for-profit education space. And it was all good. And I was about to accept, there was 2 positions on the table and I was going to accept one. But then I started asking the executive searcher, like, what do you do? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, tell me more about your job. He goes, what are you talking about, dude? we're gonna place you. What is this? Why are you asking me so much questions? Don't worry about it. And so I became curious, and it's funny how the world works. And then this woman, Jessica, who is a director of one of my centers in Westlake Village, I don't know if you know the area, she calls me and says, hey, this guy, Jeff, his 2 kids are actually in one of our programs, and he's trying to rebuild his business. Can I give him your information? I said, thank you, Jessica, but no, I got to pick one of these offers next 2 days. He goes, just please meet him, just because I promised I would. Met Jeff, asked a bunch of questions. He happened to be running a technology executive search firm. So, but I didn't want to join another large company. So I looked around. I'm like, okay, this thing's got good bones. It's a little bit of a mess. I can get my hands, dirty a little bit. And I told Jeff, I said, hey, I'm happy to come on board, but I want to build something. Are you going to kind of get out of the way and let me rebuild this? Because it needs a lot of work. And he said, yeah, man, I need my franchise player. He was smart. He used sports phrases, franchise player. He knew I was a sports guy. And I thought, you know what? Perfect, man. How much further can I get from the corporate life? Is like a small, almost mom and pop business, really good bones, but just needed a lot of work. And I didn't want to just plug into another successful company and just be another guy. I wanted to do something big and different. So my gut said, let's take it. And on paper, that job made no sense at all, to be honest with you, at all. Zero. No benefits, half the money, small business with a dirty old office, 400 square feet, I think, sublease. Because he was closing down his South Bay office, and he wanted to build something in Woodland Hills closer to his home. And so that was it. My gut said, let's do this. And I decided on my birthday that I'm going to take this crazy leap into oblivion, this crazy thing that we were about to do. Then the recession happened. So kind of a crazy ride.
Wow. How far was it between when you started and when the recession hit?
Oh, man, I would say 3 to 4 months, Pradeep. I mean, I came on board October 2007, and it already felt a little recessionist, but it was actually surprisingly easy. And I was starting to get a lot of business because I quickly realized, like, hey, the business you guys have isn't good. So let's go out and build new business. And Jeff was thrilled, and business was actually looking good. And then I started considering bringing my old Upland employees over because I had this great team, and I started interviewing them. I said, hey, come on board. Let's see if we can build something. And luckily I didn't hire them because literally January, probably February of 2008, it's like lights got turned off. The conversations went from, sure, yeah, I'd love you to build this team for us, or I'd like you to hire this Java developer or whatever, to what are you talking about? I just laid off 200 people. Can you help them? And I was like 1 call, 2 calls, 3 calls, and I realized, something's up. So yeah, we trucked through the next 18 months of very challenging times.
Wow. And yet here you are. So that's
still alive and kicking.
Yes. I think that's a lesson in overcoming adverse situations and persevering to success.
A lot of resilience in that one, Pradeep.
Fantastic. So, where you are with HireClout, you're at the intersection of ideas, capital, and people. Um, how has it enriched your lives and the lives of those that you have touched?
Um, Another really good question. I mean, it's tough to tell, right? Because what you're doing is you're helping already successful companies get more successful. You're already helping really successful tech executives, if you want to call them that, become even more successful. But I have to remind my team is like it's like if you put bolts on an airplane, you don't sell bolts. You sell the opportunity for people to dream and to travel the world and all this stuff. And it's similar, right? I mean, we've helped companies like OpenTable build their, I don't want to say original teams, but their next level of teams that ended up helping them get acquired for $2.6 billion, or build up those startups who get their critical Series A and Series B funding because they got to their traction, they got to their product market fit. We've helped people's careers go from good to great, where I placed, this is a great story. Hopefully he's listening. I placed a gentleman named Pratik at eHarmony. And I remember the offer he got was it was very average, to be honest with you. And they gave him like a software engineer role, and he was like, I don't know, man. I'm already a software engineer now. Why am I doing this? Just trust me. The guys you're working with, this guy Cormac's brilliant. He trusted me, took a leap of faith. He ended up becoming a director and then vice president, senior VP of technology at eHarmony. Then he leaves to join Google. And now he's a senior director at Google, I think, and I think he has 500 engineers working for him. So watching that growth in the last 10 years is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Another gentleman, a similar situation. He's now a CTO of a big ad tech company, but watching these guys' careers evolve, where they call me, ask me for advice. Sometimes they call me because they're annoyed and frustrated at their company. They're like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave," and then I'm like, "Oh, slow down. Let's walk through why you're considering leaving this." And sometimes I've walked them off the ledge. Sometimes I've been the one to throw them off the ledge. But it's really cool to see. That's the coolest thing about doing something for a decade or longer, is you see the impact of your work,
Yeah.
and if you do things right, you see the real impact. And that's why I don't ever believe in short-term thinking, short-term gains. I just don't believe in it. I believe in just long-term concepts. I mean, look at us. You and I barely knew each other when you were working with Max, who was Jake at the time, and we stayed in touch. So just having those relationships is really cool to see.
Yeah. Great. So I also see that you're now an investor, member of boards, and as well, you run your own business. So what does it take, from an organization, right? Like organizing your life, your schedule, your mindset. What does it take to run what you're doing?
It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of sacrifice. Unfortunately, both you and unfortunately the family sometimes. I've been blessed enough to know from day one that family comes first. So I've almost never missed a school event. I've
Oh,
almost because I'm sure there's been one or two. I'm almost never missed a basketball game for my son or something for my daughter, or my wife, hopefully. But still, long hours, focus. Honestly, this is not a good one. A lot of multitasking, which is stressful. So I don't want to glamorize what I do, because it could be really stressful, Pradeep, because it's such different things that, I mean, I also build real estate, right? I'm a real estate developer as well.
oh,
And there's just one more thing that you got to deal with. And we own homes. So tenants sometimes will call and text. And so all those things are really tough to deal with. What I've typically done is I've just had good people helping me. So at HireClout, I have a terrific team, great leadership team who run the day-to-day operations. I'm still involved very much, but they do a lot of the metrics and the management and all that stuff. I have an executive assistant that helps with scheduling and things like that. My wife really, really helps a lot with the properties, and of course she runs the house, right? She's a stay home homemaker. So She sacrificed her career so that our kids could be well taken care of. So mentally, I don't have to worry about homework and picking up the kids, dropping off the kids. I do a little bit of it because I want to, but focus is what allowed me to become successful and build HireClout. Lack of focus and spreading ourselves thin is very stressful. So it's working intelligently. It's getting really, the one thing I've done well is hire and use and support just good people around me. And sometimes that's vendors, a realtor. Use them to show the homes and do the walkthroughs and sign this. Maybe it's a property management company. Maybe it's whatever it is constantly off offloading as many things as I can. I used to get involved in the construction project management. I want to save 20-30%, so I'll manage the vendors. What a disaster, right? I learned, I was successful. I built two while managing the projects, and I realized this is going to kill me, man.
Yeah.
This is going to kill me. It's going to hurt my business. It's not worth it. So then I just gave it all to a construction company and said, okay, you're managing these projects. So I've learned that time is more valuable than money. And so whatever you can offshore, offload, do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I think the path that you went through with doing things yourself first before you hired somebody to run it, like the construction projects as a site, makes sense because you got to start, unless you have a personal reality of how things work,
Yeah.
I don't think you get an appreciation for it. So
Exactly. You don't know how difficult something is until, I would have to, so, LA County, the way they work is they say, okay, your inspection is 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Monday, right? And so you have to go sit there and wait for this construction guy. And he might just choose to show up at 12:15 because he felt like it. And so you're now sitting in your car in 108-degree weather, waiting for this guy to show up for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. And so, realizing like, I do not want to do that. My business needs me, was very, very important. And you realize it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Unless you're a mom and pop and you're building an ADU in your own backyard and you work from home. Sure. Maybe it is worth it. You want to deal with 12 different vendors? Okay, sure. It just, for me, that was definitely not worth it,
Got it. So, as a person who sits on boards and is an advisor to startups and companies, how did that come about? Is it because of the fact that you were helping people with getting talent that you got those roles, or was there a conscious effort on your part to, become an advisor and a board member? And what might you have as suggestions for any senior leaders looking to do that?
I would say it was neither one of those. One of them early on was from like a think tank group I was part of. I would give that a CEO a lot of advice, and she said, "Hey, would you be like a unofficial board member?" And I said, "Sure." And so it started there. And she would always brag about like, "Oh my God, that was so helpful. They got so much out of the conversation with you that I couldn't get up." Anyways, stuff like this. But then I started investing in startups, and the startup founders would call me, and we would have meetings, and they would say, "Hey, would you mind, being an advisor to us, whether you invest or not? We would enjoy that." So I did a little bit of those, and then the angel network investment group I'm part of asked me to be on the board because I built the LA chapter and we got tremendous traction, and they were like, "Well, hey, can you advise us on how we can scale this globally?" So it just came from just being organically helpful, and just
That's great.
just giving advice for pretty much for free, which people are very careful to do. And then people have asked. Now, a lot of these roles are challenging because some of them are not paid. They're equity only and things like that, which can be tough on your time. So again, choose very wisely, right? Most startups aren't going to make it, which means it was for free, but so again, you got to be really wise with your time. And for me, I don't use a typical tick for tack kind of model of living. So again, that's great. That's how I've been able to build lots of friendships and community and how I'm happy. At the same time, it could suck a lot of your energy and sometimes without
Yeah.
much results. The learning is great though. You learn a ton.
Yeah. It's good. So on that one, based on what you just said, I realized that, there's this saying, right, which is you got to give before you receive. I think and when you said, your focus is to be helpful and you just give help, right? And things coming out as a result of that, I think, um, yeah, it's very nice to see that the organic nature of that growth, right?
Pradeep, by the way, I call it go giver, right? Versus go
Oh,
getters. The old phrase,
yeah,
she's a go getter, he's a go getter. Go getters, even though it was meant to be a compliment, are not necessarily the best people long term to be around because they're there to get. Uh, and that doesn't mean that you can't win from them. These people will drive performance, drive business. They'll help you make money, but eventually they're out to get something, right? Whether it's get something from a conversation or get something, nothing wrong with those things, but I rather be a go giver. These are just people that now you can't give to everybody. You got to be smart and
yeah,
selective, but you just give without worrying about what do I get in return, Pradeep? Or like, why do you want to have lunch? You're like, well, I just want to pick your brain, man. Like I don't need to ask. I already know this is a quality person. If he wants to have lunch, that there's a reason, right? So just giving people your time as a go giver allows you to then um, when capture value when you need it. And
right.
sometimes it's done for not even you. So you're like, a friend calls you and says, "Hey, I need a favor. This is for a really important life-saving thing." I got so many favors that I can call in to not even help me, but to help this individual. And
Mm,
I saw that play out recently. It was very powerful to see how it helped someone else, and it was really cool. But that's how I live.
fantastic. I think that's a great philosophy of living. In the tech industry right now, how is it in terms of hiring?
Not so good. Unfortunately, not so good. We're still busy, Pradeep. I think I mentioned on our last meeting. But it's very different. So in 2021, 22, it looked something like this. Okay, Pradeep, we need you to build our team. We need to hire 10 people. We can hire them anywhere in the US and we need them now and and we'll pay top dollar, right? Now it's yes, we need your help, but it's in this city 3 days a week. It's in Palo Alto 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week, and we don't want to pay too much, and it's this niche skill set, right? It's software engineer, model training, or inference, or whatever it is, and it's in Palo Alto, and it's minimum of this many days a week, and we can only pay this, and take your time. It creates a much slower speed.
Yeah,
I mean, for years we couldn't keep up, so I would just have to keep hiring people just to throw bodies at so much business. That's not the case. Now is we have business, we're blessed, we have really good clients, but it's less. I need 3 people, not 10, and I need them in this exact thing with this very tight skill set. Our consulting business is a little bit different. It's doing a little bit better because people are more likely to hire temporary people, even though sometimes they keep them for 3 years. It's a little different dynamic,
got it. Wow, that's a side of the coin that you don't get to see unless you're in the hiring space as a person helping companies. So that's good to know.
Yes.
So in terms of candidates, what challenges are they facing in this market, and what is your advice to them?
It's not a great market for most candidates, especially the high level ones. They just have a lot less opportunities. It's highly competitive. When a company does have a director, VP, or C-level opening, they have so many options. Same happens for senior individual contributors have more opportunities than leadership people, but it's like an 80-20 rule or even less. Like 20% of the people will have multiple offers. The other 80 to 90 will be sitting around waiting for a great opportunity. So candidates are a little, like if they're employed, they're a little hesitant to jump ship. If they're unemployed, they might have a little bit of a longer time to find something great. There's still hiring going on. Like I said, some people are getting multiple offers, but the higher level they are, the less opportunities they have. I mean, how many VPs does a company need? How
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
CIOs do they need? How many CTOs, right? I mean, you think about that. As the higher it goes, it's just less and less and less, and the more and more and more competitive. For people, it's connecting with the right people. You have to know the right players to get you in the door. There's so many unadvertised positions that we work on, right? It's confidential positions that we fill that people are just not aware of, and it's not posted. So if you have that kind of a network, that's very helpful.
Okay, good. So, how do you see AI changing the demand for talent?
I'm hearing two sides of the coin, Pradeep. On one side, I'm hearing AI is not there yet. There's a lot of issues and so on and so forth. On the other front, I'm hearing, man, it's incredible. And the people that like it and are using it to augment their team, they're either hiring junior people and using tools and AI to make them do the work of a mid or senior level person, or they're saying no more junior people. AI can do that work. We're only
Yeah.
hiring senior people and only hiring a few and hiring the best of the best. That's what we're seeing. I think there's kind of a little bit of a bubble in AI. I mean, if you see the amount of money that's been invested in AI, I mean, we're talking trillions, right? But the results aren't there yet. If you really look at the amount of money both invested from a VC perspective or angel investment, or the big dogs like Meta and all those things, if you really pay attention to their quarterlies, there's not a lot of money coming back in, right, to cover the costs. So there's caution. There's a little bit of caution, I think, on that as well. So I definitely see companies are going to want to hire less people than normal, but I think it's going to shift. They're going to hire a certain kind of person. And vibe coding obviously is a thing, and there's so many different ways to skin the cat now that's helping companies do more with less. So I think those
Yeah.
huge inflated 200 people teams, I think, will go away. That's not it's a lot of digital AI solutions work is being done to get efficiencies right across organizations.
Okay, good. On AI being used in hiring, how do you see AI changing how people are screened and hired? And how do you see HireClout making a difference here for businesses looking to hire?
So we've been hearing about AI in hiring for a lot of years. You can imagine being at the forefront. I get
Yeah.
approached by startups who want to pick my brain to show me their product. Most of what I've seen has been very, very elementary. And even when it sounds really good, it doesn't actually work. Like, I'll give you an example. Some startup will say, hey, what if we built agents that could do sourcing for you? Because I want my recruiters to focus on the human element. I want them to have a deep, thorough human interview with Pradeep for half an hour to an hour. I want them talking to the clients all the time. I don't want them clicking buttons all day. So it's like, I'm open to these ideas. So you've designed an agent to source. Yes. Okay, great. Give me 10 profiles of this type of data scientist we're looking for. And then they'll go out and get that. And you'll even approve it and say, it looks good. Then what? Then it just disappears. So there's a lot of work to be done on the sourcing front. I think that's an area where it could be disrupted. And it's a very important part of the hiring process, but it's a very time consuming, not, it's valuable, but it's time consuming. It can be done by AI, right? As you get closer to the actual interviews, I think a human in the loop is necessary. There are
Yeah.
interview platforms that actually will interview people, and some people do it, and we've used it actually. I was advising a company, I used their product. Again, mixed results, right? If you're a let's say, a headhunter reaches out to you and you're passive, you're not going to be super excited about talking to an AI bot. So you're going to pass. If if you're unemployed, you're going to be more likely to be open to it,
Yeah.
right? But because most of the work we do is outreach to people that are exactly what we're looking for, it's rare that they're going to be willing to. Yes, I'm open to your having a conversation. I'm like, great, here, talk to my bot, talk to my AI. So that's also not there yet, right? In client interactions, I wouldn't trust with AI. So
Right.
there's pieces of it that we do have AI automation already built into our company. I have a CTO here that's building crazy, really cool automation and AI capabilities, but it's really for an efficiency perspective, not to eliminate the team. Because
Right.
I think the human in the loop has to be involved as early and as late as possible. So the only thing I
Yeah.
can see potentially enhancing is how can we get more of the kind of the clicking out of the way and allow these people to do deeper work, the human work,
Mm, got
you
it.
know?
Excellent. No, that's a really good way of using AI and also highlighting the shortcomings and why humans are still very relevant in the loop.
Yes,
I think until humans hire humans, humans are going to be needed, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing I see, Pradeep, is when you show up to a meeting, let's say you're early or someone else is early, and it'll be three note takers, one person. And I think in the next 2 to 3 years, what we're going to see is or maybe 5 years, Pradeep's AI is going to show up. Your agent's going to show up. My agent's going to show up, and they're actually going to communicate. And they're going to have the conversation, and then they're going to report back to their bosses, right? Like almost like a digital twin, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably next, but I still enjoy the human element.
Right. So, in terms of like the hiring process, yeah, would you say that it is efficient and effective? And where do you see opportunities for bettering the experience, both for hiring managers and for candidates?
I think the hiring process is broken, hence why we exist, and I think hence why we'll be continued to be needed. Most
Yeah.
companies hiring is pretty broken, to be honest with you, because the mentality is let's post and pray. Let's post and pray that someone falls in our lap, and then we'll give them a shitty candidate experience, but hope that they're terrific, right? And then when they start, they'll have a shitty onboarding process. And most people are remote now, so they won't see their colleagues or bosses in person almost ever, maybe once, 2 times, 3 times a year. And then we're shocked when they're resigning. They've built no relationships, right? Um, so that's like the worst case scenario, right? A company that doesn't pay enough, doesn't have good benefits, doesn't have a good candidate experience, only hires people that fall in their lap, and then they're surprised why they can't grow. There's those, and then there's a bunch of companies in the middle, and then there's maybe 10% of companies that are doing really well. So you've got the 10% doing it really well, 10% doing it really poor, and then the 80%, the normal, that has kind of a disjointed process, right? Where maybe their recruiting is good, but their interview process is bad and their onboarding is bad. Or, their recruiting and candidate experience is amazing, but the candidate starts and there's no onboarding. There's a lot of pieces of the process that's broken, or companies that put on a good show, but really they're not being honest with themselves or the candidate, or they expect too much for what they can get, right?
Mm,
So they want the moon and the stars, but what they provide is not equivalent, and I like to a lot of times use real estate kind of to communicate the lack of realisticness of what they're asking for, or their process is too lengthy, 6 steps, 7 steps, or they're looking for a perfect person and it doesn't exist. So we often really push back early. We try to do it during where we're not partners yet. And we're like, Pradeep, that's not going to work, man. That salary is really low. No wonder you're not getting people to accept it. Hey, you have 6 interview steps. Why? And we try to poke as many holes. And sometimes it costs us the client, and that's fine because we already know it's going to be a disaster. So we're trying to, we're trying to blow it up early, right? And we're trying to be true value added partners. And they don't want to come to us now. They'll come back to us when they realize this. We were right, or they'll never come back to us, and that's fine, right? Because they weren't going to be a great client. Because remember what we're doing. We're taking people out of good jobs into better jobs, hopefully. So why would we do that to them, right? And also we're setting up our recruiters to work on something that might not be good business. So why would we do that to them? It's a lot of waste. And if the client is got a broken process, they're still not going to be able to accomplish what they want to accomplish. Doesn't matter how good someone is, they're still going to go into bad culture. So we try to poke holes, and some of the great companies will listen to us and they'll adjust a little bit, right? They'll adjust the interview process. You're right. We'll shift things around. We're like, why does your CEO do a technical interview? That's ridiculous. This person went 5 rounds to have a nice conversation with the CTO or the CEO, and he's asking technical questions. How did this guy succeed in 5 or 6 rounds just to fail at your CEO level? That CEO conversation is not supposed to be technical. If it is, put it to the front. Vet people out faster so you don't put them through 6 interview steps. Oh, I never thought about that. So stuff like this. If they won't share their equity plan with us, we won't work it because we don't understand what we're selling, what we're interviewing for. It doesn't make sense.
Wow. Amazingly insightful conversation here. I'm learning a lot. And I can see how, being value focused, delivering real value, I think there's a certain amount of honesty and candor that comes with delivering value as well, right? And I can see based on what you describe that I think your perspective as a whole, not just in business, but as well in life, is really good because, I think you're, like you said, you're long-term focused. You're not, tick for tack kind of a person, right? Like all these things matter, I think, in helping businesses find good candidates and candidates find good businesses to work for. So
I hope so.
Appreciate
I hope so. Thank you, Pradeep.
Yeah. So, you mentioned senior leaders that you'd placed, right? Like this one recent example you just said in the last conversation. So, for senior leaders that are looking to find their next role, what are things that you recommend or from your experience and direct observation as to what they can do to better their chances?
That's a good question. I would say what I hate when people do is they blindly apply to every job, right? Senior leaders rarely do that. They're a lot more selective, and they usually hate when it's being done to them. Because one ironic thing I think you and I shared was real candidates, good ones, are frustrated because they're not hearing back when they apply. I mean, at all. Yet companies are frustrated with candidates that don't apply to respond to them after they apply, which is really ironic, right? Well, what's happening is people are creating these beautiful AI resumes. That was never a thing before. There's fake candidates. And then they are building automations, and LinkedIn has an easy apply. So you can just apply to 100 companies without even knowing who they are, right? Who these companies are. And Pradeep might email you and say, hey, thank you so much, John, for applying to this position. Out of curiosity, what made you apply? And you'll get the stupidest email back. What does this pay? Or what company is this? You're like, are you serious right now? So you're getting a lot of that. So it's really ironic. So senior leaders don't do usually these kind of things. But I would say shortlist a few companies and look for things that aren't easy to get. So for example, if there's a remote VP of IT position, let's say, and sure, it sounds good, right? But everybody's going to apply to that, right? They're going to have 6,000 applicants. They're never even going to be able to go through those. So why even bother? Why even apply? What is the point? It's just another black hole that you're entering. So in that case, I would say if it's a really attractive position, try to find someone within that company that you can network with and see, hey, what's the deal? Can you get my resume to the thing? Work with a trusted, executive search firm or recruiter that potentially can do that intro for you. I think that's really helpful. Now, the problem is if I don't have the search, I might not have the search. I might not be able to get the search, but I might give you some advice, but it might also be a waste, right? You have to be aware of
Yeah.
that. So that's one. Look for positions that are tougher. You got a, on-site position, but it's close to your home and you're willing to do that commute, right? And there's less applicants and it's more niche. It's more in your expertise, right? So if Pradeep has, 7 years of fintech experience, or marketing ad tech or whatever it is, well, he's going to be more attractive to those companies. So don't go applying for, a bunch of different companies. If your entire career has been enterprise companies and you're applying to startups, it's probably not going to get anywhere. So find your expertise, your domain expertise, something that makes the role challenging, location maybe, that maybe fits you, and only apply to those. Those are two important factors. And that third one would be try to connect with people in that company. Don't
Yeah.
Applying for jobs is usually a black hole. Doesn't mean you can't get lucky, and doesn't mean if you have what I just described, you're in Los Angeles, you have ad tech experience, they're looking for ad tech experience, and you apply to those jobs, you are way more likely to get a call or email. But HR and recruiters typically have a lot going on, and they're not the most organized people, and they usually give a 6-second look at a resume. Now you have AI automations that are declining candidates, even though it's wrong, right? They don't know how good John is. I know how good John is. So I don't care if he fits every stupid bullet on this list. I'm going to call the CTO and say, hey, I've known this guy for 7 years. He's terrific. Hey, she helped scale a company that I personally placed her at. She's phenomenal. So try to find an advocate that can get past keywords, can get past job descriptions, and really try to get a conversation going with the CTO or whoever the hiring manager is. That's how I look at it.
Fantastic. Probably the best advice I've heard in general
Good.
in the topic. Now,
Appreciate that.
for the next generation, meaning people that are in college or considering college or coming out of college, who are looking at tech as a career option, what's your advice
Man, that's such a
based on
tough
what you?
one.
I know.
That's such a tough one, because on one front, Pradeep, it's like stick to what you love, stick to what you're doing, and I don't worry about fads or short-term things. Like, for example, if we're in a recession and your son can't find, a job after going to Berkeley or, MIT, I'm not too worried because it'll be over in a year. Just take a more reasonable position. Take the salary you wouldn't typically. Take the kind of job that you wouldn't learn. Eventually, you'll move on. AI is definitely disrupting what junior people, how junior people are used and how many are going to be needed. I think they're going to have the toughest time, because there's just not as much needed. I remember a time where historically people don't use this for junior hiring, so I don't have as much
Yeah.
experience with that.
Sure.
When the market became really challenging for companies in 21, 22, 23, they were willing to hire junior people, a couple years of experience. That's completely disappeared, right? They don't even want to hire mid-level people, at least through us. They want senior and above, which is understandable, right? They're paying a big service fee to get exactly what they want. But I think AI will be able to potentially eliminate a small batch of junior people that they would have hired. But again, you're only junior for a short while. So if you love what
Right.
you do, stick to it. Stick to it. And hopefully you'll find your place in this world. But I would actually, when I'm done with my next sentence, I'd love to hear from you because you're the expert. You're the VP of engineering. You're the one that's probably managed hundreds of engineers, and I'm curious what you think in this realm. But I think for me is like if you're a young engineer, you got to learn AI. You have to know how to effectively partner with an AI so that you can be more effective and be that junior person that they are willing to hire. If they were going to hire 5, they might not only need 2 or 3, but be the 2 or 3,
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think,
in my
Pradeep?
in my career, actually, I have not hired fresh out of college, right?
Okay.
I think it's got to do with the organizations I work for, where, you often go to a college. Like when I was at stamps.com, I actually advocated for this, right? Like, hey, why don't we go to universities and hire people, right? And it all turned out to be people that needed H-1B,
Yeah.
right? So, and my employer at that time didn't have a policy of, doing first-time H-1Bs. They will do transfers, but not first-time applications because that's more like a lottery, right?
It's a lottery. It's time-based. Yeah, it's very, very challenging.
So that was the thing that I ran into. Now, obviously, bigger organizations don't have that challenge. When I did look at resumes of people that were still in their masters or whatever, I found one that didn't need a H1 out of like 12, right? So that's the ratio, right? So anyway, my experience is pretty limited, so I don't want to paint a broad general picture. But I also feel that AI isn't going to go away, and I don't think the optimizations it is bringing to the workflow is going to disappear either. It's only going to get better. In my view, I think the future looks more like an entrepreneurial world where people are able to build the solutions that they can then turn around and sell. I think then go-to-market is going to become a real skill, right? That's where I think humans are going to be super valuable. Go to market, and it might become a service-oriented business where young entrepreneurs that are building stuff can just use these firms to do the marketing for them. That's my take. I think if you look at the entire organized workforce, right, it came out of the industrial age, and we've been kind of operating the same way. AI might just disrupt that to a more smaller organizations run by fewer people.
Yes,
which means people coming out of the colleges, if they have to break through, they might as well build things.
Agreed.
So that's
my That's really good insight, Pradeep. So the way you're seeing it, and I agree, is those junior people might have less opportunities from an employment perspective, but they're going to create their own employment by using AI to quickly create an MVP, get a product out. But then the important skill set is, can you now sell this? Because AI has made product development really easy. Anybody can do it now. Tech founders, non-tech founders, product people, non-product people. But sales has always been the biggest challenge for everybody. Can they get this thing to product? Can they find it or to the marketplace? That's really good. That's a skill set. Talk about a skill set. I think the heads down, leave me alone, super analytical folks, I think have limited opportunities. I think the people that are willing to sell. All the startups that I've helped over the years, Pradeep, I could sense within a month which ones were going to fail. Because all they did is tweak their product and try to make it amazing. But then I would give them advice on how to get it out to market, and they wouldn't do that. So I'm like, why are we meeting every month if you're not going to do the things that we talked about? Because they didn't have to go to market, the sales skills. They were too technical founders, analytical and quiet and, stuff like that. So it's really good.
So I know that you also do go-to-market hiring, right? You hire for go-to-market professionals. At some point, you added that to your portfolio. I don't know at what point, but what caused you to do that? Was it because you were working with startups and there was a need?
Wow, another really good question. We always wanted to diversify a little bit, but what we found is we were diversifying around something that we didn't know if it was needed. we met a gentleman, we hired him, and we built a small team, and he happened to be a go-to-market expert, so that definitely helped in the decision. So we trusted that he could be the guy to build it, and he could bring a little bit of business already. So that was definitely helpful. But what was key was just the knowledge that, you know, people still need salespeople to sell, right? They still need to get their products to market. So, and if you have a great sales or marketing person, people will always take them. More sales than anything, but they'll always take them because they need that. If someone called me right now with someone outstanding that could do the job better, I would hire that person right now. I don't care how many jobs I have. I don't have. If I have a rec approved, I don't care. If they're phenomenal, I will hire them today. Um, so that was also part of it, right? I mean, we used to do pre-sales engineers and stuff like that. And it was like, we just needed to take the next step over, which was the account executives and the VP of growth and the head of sales and, CRO and all that stuff. But I think that's an area where there is absolute need. People have brilliant products, but they can't sell them. And they need very specific things, right? They need, oh man, they must have helped the company, a B2B SaaS company within the blah, blah, blah space, construction tech space, and have helped scale a company from, 10 million to 50 million. Okay, let's go get that person. It's challenging, but when we do, the results are there.
Wow. Great. I think, that is also giving a full-fledged service, not just like, hey, I'm going to help you hire just the tech folks, but also help you be successful as a business by getting you the go-to-market professionals. It's fantastic. And I think in an AI world, it's going to be all the more useful. So, that's I think, an AI-enabled world, I think sales and the persuasion skills of humans are going to outweigh the technical skills. It's not going to disappear, the technical skills, but I think more and more it's going to be easier to build.
I agree.
So coming to like a wrap-up section of our podcast, you've been very successful. So what are some factors that contributed to your success? Was it like, growing up, schools, mentors, family, church, community, role models, these are things I can think of that might have influenced. But in your personal view, I guess, is there a set of factors that contributed to your success?
I mean, unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of mentors. I had a great father, I had brothers, I had friends. I didn't have a traditional mentor, but I would always recommend someone having mentors. So unfortunately, it wasn't that. For me, honestly, it was just the broad scope of I have to succeed. I don't know why, but I have to succeed. But I don't have a direct line, meaning like, you probably studied engineering, computer science. So you always knew you would be an engineer, right? And then you were a good leader, so you kind of grew and you were willing to take people's crap, so you became a manager, right? I didn't have that, right? I didn't, I went to school and I picked, I don't know, business. Why business? I don't know, because it makes sense, because I'm entrepreneurial spirited and one day I want to have my own business. So let me learn business. Oh, I like people. Let me learn management, stuff like this. So I think just the need and want to succeed and to be great at something was really like having a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, wanting to provide a great kind of life for my family and to give to the community and to never worry about money was my thing. Like my parents' interesting life, right? They did fine, and then they moved to a new country, so they struggled like hell, and and so like watching that, I never wanted to worry about money. I saw people argue about money. I saw couples divorce because of money, and kids not get the education they need because of money, and I didn't want that. And honestly, like I think my curiosity really did it, and my risk taking helped me succeed. Willingness to work really hard. My mom and grandfather were really, 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 really hardworking. I learned a little bit of that, but then I learned I have to balance that, right? They work too much. So how do I make sure that I'm there for my kids, more than let's say they were? So how do I do that, right? So like finding, and then I always wanted control, Pradeep. I'm really bad with not having control. It's a weakness of mine. So like if I join an organization and they have good leadership, I don't mind being a follower. I actually really enjoy it. But if I see there's holes, I want to step in and do stuff. And if I have control, then I'm controlling my destiny, my life, my income, stuff like that. If I don't have control, then I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. I don't know. Like I'm helpless in a way. So for me, it was just the need to control, which is, I don't know if it's good or bad, to
It's a good
the,
thing.
yeah, the desire to succeed and have a good life, to provide, to give back to the community without worrying about it. And then maybe the willingness to fail and learn and half the stuff I
Yeah.
do, it's not even for money. And it's not like I'm so wealthy I don't have to worry about money. Not at all. My wife even says like, why do we need this? Why are you doing this? I'm like, well, because right now I'm working on a project to build 6 homes instead of one-offs. And she's like, why? Why? I'm like, I don't know, because it's exciting. I've never done it. I want to learn. I want to, I'm splitting lots. I constantly like dealing with stuff that I haven't done. It's exciting for
Wonderful.
me. So I don't know. It's probably a combination of all those things. That's helped me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think the drive to succeed is so vital, but also knowing what goes into making that happen is key as well. You mentioned that, you know, you like to be in control, and I think that is, you know, a point of wisdom, I would say, because, having worked in corporate America for 30 years, I can tell you, when I started, I actually was trying to start different businesses, right? And then somehow, anyway, the point about mentorship, I, sometimes you can get bad advice.
Yes, yes.
and
You get a
and
lot
when
of
you
bad advice.
right, so and I took one. I took a bad piece of advice, right, and continued in a line. So when I look back at it, I feel like innately I knew what I wanted, but I didn't really go for it. And what the missing aspect was one, just not even risk of failure. I mean, risk of failure was also one consideration that was there, but the other thing was not realizing the importance of control, right? Like when you put yourself as an employee, right, you are bound by whatever. I mean, you're doing things on somebody else's, what do you say,
Watch their
uh,
leadership, their
watch, right? Their
discretion.
leadership.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in that sense, if let's say your aspirations are different or much bigger than what you could accommodate in that setting, then you always have a problem. So I think when you said control and you're like questioning, is that a good thing? I feel like that's a really good thing because uh, you succeed or fail by your own choice, by your own actions, and you are totally responsible, right? So I think
Yes.
that's a good choice made. You
Thank you.
know,
I appreciate that. And there's a little bit of faith component too, believing in someone bigger than yourself is really helpful. Whether people are religious or not, it doesn't matter. Like my faith is God opens doors, He creates opportunities, He stops opportunities for a reason. And I was going to speak at this great conference in New York City. It was really exciting. It was like headliner type of stuff, and I was excited. And today they said, "Hey, we're gonna push it back to April." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, the lady's like, "You're not upset?" No, why would I be upset? It is what it is. Let's move on. Like, what? It was like, what do you mean? I, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. It wasn't meant to be. I wasn't meant to fly to New York. I wasn't, and knowing that is very helpful, and knowing that
yeah,
something's not being done to you, it's being done for you is a very important factor. And a lot of times knowing that and having that faith is very helpful. And one more thing, Pradeep, that I think I didn't think about when you asked the question is, it's like burning the boats is a very important factor. burning the boats. Like most
Matt
people,
Higgins, right?
they dabble, right? They dabble. I was speaking at a young people's entrepreneur organization like 2 months ago, and they were like, you have this podcast and you build real estate and you do all these cool stuff. And I was like, what's your advice? I said, my advice is don't do any of those things. Focus on one thing. I said, guys,
Yeah.
remember, I started doing these things 10, 12, 13 years after I built a business. But in the meantime, I was focused on my business. So don't go following an entrepreneur that has 7 businesses and try to start 7 businesses. No. Do one and put all of your effort behind it. Then you can have a little side thing that takes a little bit of your time. So that's another one. Burn the boats. If you're going to do something in that time, whether it's 6 months, a year, or 2 years, only do that. Put your heart and soul behind it. And if it doesn't succeed, move on. Don't go after it over and over again. But don't try to hedge your bets by doing 7 different things. It's not going to work.
Yeah. No, I think the 2 things that you said totally stand out, and I can vet from personal experience. Faith, and the other one is don't bet on multiple things, right? Like give it your all. And that's the key to success, those 2 things, right? Like the perspective that you said, it's not happening to me, but it is happening for me. That's another great perspective to have. I mean, how can you be knocked down by life if you have that perspective?
Right?
So
it's easier said than done, but it definitely helps.
No, I mean, even having that mindset, right? Like just having the idea that you can think of things that way, whether it hurts or not is a different thing. I'm not saying it's not going to hurt when you go through an experience that is not
it hurts like
great.
hell. It
But
hurts like hell. And
still,
I told my team during the recession, this existing recession 2 years ago, a year ago, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's happening for you because you need to be better just to survive. But when the market changes, you're going to be flying. And I give them examples of how it happened to me in 2008 and 9. And then we succeeded. And then how it happened during COVID when the entire world shut down. And how for 6 months we didn't know if anybody was going to make it. But then we came back 3 times faster and better, and we grew by 275% and 235%, made Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't have that perspective, it's like, why is this happening? Why is this? I used to make so much more with less effort. And it's like, well, now you'll appreciate the business when it comes back and you're going to dominate it. You're not going to think, it's always been easy. I got it. It's fine. I want more time off. You're going to just take it, so.
Great. So you mentioned, you wanted to have your own business early on. You mentioned so did you know going into college when you chose business, you knew that you wanted to run a business someday? Or was that more of an organic thing that came about?
Both, right? There was always this this want of being great and being important and making an impact and having control. And, I used to tell my friends in high school, I'm going to open a club one day, yes. But really when I graduated college, I just went and worked corporate, for years, and I learned. And then when I left, I didn't go become a founder of a company. I went to work for a company, and I was an intrapreneur, and I created systems and products and things that I didn't have. I created for someone, and then eventually I became an owner. I acted like an owner, so I became an owner. So people forget that part too. It's like, well, I'm not an owner. I'm not willing to give it at all. Well, you'll never be an owner with that mindset,
Right.
So things like that are important. So I don't know. I mean, it was a combination of all those things and my need to control.
Well, that did good for you. And I'm sure it does good. As long as the intentions are right, I think the need to have control is great, right? I think it'll result in great outcomes. What are some important factors for success in building a thriving business?
Patience, right? Because you're going to need a lot of patience. You're going to have to work your ass off, get this work life balance crap out of your head. You're going to sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice so many things. Like the other day we were driving and I was telling my wife, like, oh, Jeff and I used to come to this place for lunch. And oh, me and this guy used to go here. I named all these amazing places. I'm like, how do we have time to drive 15 minutes to have these nice lunches? I usually either go to the gym because I can't during the mornings or evenings, or I just eat on my desk and get back to work. I mean, I don't do that for fun. It's just, or in a business meeting. So you're going to sacrifice comfort. You're going to sacrifice certain things. So a lot of things. So be ready for that. You're going to you have to have a lot of staying power. Staying power emotionally, financially, physically, all of those things, all kinds of staying power, because in the beginning, you're going to fail. You're going to fail over and over again. I don't know if you know who Charles Aznavour is. He's a French Armenian singer. And I was at the movie premiere last night, and I didn't know that he wasn't successful for many, many, many years. And he was very angry and frustrated that he couldn't win. He ended up being like very famous. But I didn't even know any of those things. You know, the whole iceberg thing where you only see the success.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't realize people were telling him, you need to stop. You're not a singer. You're a songwriter. You're too ugly. You're too short. You're too whatever. And the guy just kept going. He just was, and you need to have a little bit of that if you really want to succeed. And you have to be able to make good decisions and surround yourself with good people. You have to have a good partner that balances you. You have to have great people so you can give control up. So I talked so much about control. You would think I'm a control freak. I'm actually opposite of a control freak. I love giving control away, but you have to be careful who you give control away for. You have to give it to people you can trust. I only surround myself with people that I trust to be in the foxhole with. I don't know if you know the concept of foxhole in a war. If I don't trust you and I don't believe that you have my back, I don't care how good you are, how talented you are, how smart you are. I don't want you around me. I just don't. If I don't trust you, I don't want to work with you. So really, really just great people. You have to have great people. And don't go cheap. That's another thing. Small businesses make a lot of that mistake, including us at the Mitchell Group. We couldn't scale because we're a small company. We could only afford certain things. And so we would constantly get good people only temporarily, or we would get average people because we can afford them. Get that concept out of your head. My mom used to have this great saying. She used to always tell us, it's been a while since she said, nothing is more expensive than cheap. And I'd be like, what was that? Doesn't that make sense? When you buy cheap crap, it usually breaks down. And if you're cheap with your vendors, you're cheap with your employees, you're just cheap in life, money has to flow and it has to move. And great people you need to get great people to help you scale. Otherwise, you're going to be the genius with the 100 helpers, right? And nobody wants to be that guy.
Right. No, that is great advice, that the most expensive thing is the cheap thing.
Yeah.
I've had that experience, like when you try to outsource because it is lower cost from one vendor versus another, it always ends up costing you more in the long run. So if you hadn't, this is like a question you can choose not to answer if it doesn't make sense, but if you hadn't come into tech and developed a talent for recruiting people, what area might you have spent your time on and why?
It would have been in business. And this is very random, so it could have been anything, Pradeep. I know for a fact it would have to be something people-centric. It would have to be where I'm involved and surrounded by people and likely helping someone. Because if I don't believe that I'm making a genuine impact, I don't want to do it. It's just temporary, right? Like, could I sell cars? I don't know. Could I sell homes? Maybe. I don't know. It would have to be somewhere where I'm around people, energizing people, helping people, doing something that people care about. If they don't care, then I don't care. And if it's just so I can make money, I don't know how long that would have lasted for me, you know? Could have been anything, honestly, as long as it was around people and helping people and, and doing good things.
Good. Nice. So you mentioned you grew up with brothers. Were you the older one or
I
the
was the
younger one?
youngest. I was the youngest.
Yes. Do you think that's a blessing?
Yeah, it's a blessing. Funny story. My dad, who just passed away about 6, 7 months ago, one day he was like making fun of my brothers. He's like, "Why are you guys such knuckleheads? Why didn't you do more things?" My brothers are doing fine, but they were like, and I said, Dad, I got to give these guys credit. They made so many mistakes that I learned from secondhand that I didn't have to make those mistakes. So big advantage from that perspective, that you're watching your brothers try to find their product market fit in the world, and they're trying different things and it's not working. You're like, okay, I don't have to do that to fail. I can kind of learn that didn't work. So that's an advantage. It's an advantage because you have to be scrappy all the time. You have to be scrappy to keep your dessert, because they would try tactics like, they'd be like, Pradeep, I got a bitter taste in my mouth. Do you mind if I take a bite of your food? Or they would take the more food than you would. They were bigger, they were stronger. So I had to learn to be scrappier, to fight. So definitely a lot of advantages. Disadvantages, if you're a follower and you just do what they do and they don't do the right things, then obviously it could be a disadvantage.
Right.
I have good brothers, and we grew up close and we learned from each other and stuff like that. But we're not in the same industries. We're not in the same type of people. We're very different. So that alone was, I guess, an advantage, because I had to learn that, like, I don't have to be them and they don't have to be me. We could just be ourselves,
Nice. Well, Avetis, this has been a fantastic conversation. I learned so much about recruiting, about business, and about you and what makes you tick and be successful. And I think there are big takeaways for me personally and for the listeners of this podcast as well. I really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, Pradeep. Great questions. I felt like it was a therapy session, not a podcast. So you've got a very, very, very calming style. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. See you around the block.
Yeah, see you around.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. I hope you found this episode insightful. Join me for the next episode in 2 weeks where I interview another guest.